Hi, I'm Vix.
Hey, I'm Emma, and this is Trusting Spirit with Vix and Emma. And this week, we're going to talk about all things money, all things abundance, all things manifesting, and all things spiritual business.
I'm so excited to talk about this.
I know. This is one of the things that comes up for us the most, I think, our
Yeah.
conversations. This is where it kind of always leads to, not just in the spiritual industry, but in our own lives. Like, how can we make this happen? And how do you use manifesting? And how do you see abundance?
Yeah, I feel like there's so much. I feel like this could even be a series.
Yeah,
An
probably.
episode. There's so much to say.
Probably. Well, I had so many questions about this when we posted, ask us anything. I bet you the majority of the questions that I got were about money.
Yeah.
And, how do we receive money and be in a spiritual business? Because I think that's one of the bigger questions that happens a lot is like, how do you feel good about charging what you charge?
Mm.
And how do you answer that question?
I feel like that's such a good place to start because before we even start talking about money stuff, there is like this whole thing out there of like you shouldn't charge for your spiritual services. And I never even like thought of that. Like when I started my business, that never crossed my mind until random people started DMing me and being like, oh, if you were really a reader or healer, you're really working for spirit, you wouldn't charge for your services. And like the first time it happened, I was just like, what? Like, I like, okay, bye. Like, like, this is my job. Like, what are you talking about? And then I realized it was like a whole thing, and that there are so many
Yeah.
people out there that have this belief that you shouldn't be charging for your services. And one thing that I kind of has helped me, like when I write back to these people, and I'm like, well, this is what I do, is I kind of try to explain it like I'm not really charging for the messages, I'm charging for my time and my
Yeah.
energy. So
Yeah.
it's not like you're buying messages from spirit from me. It's like you're buying my time, you're buying my time, which I can't give away for free because
Yeah.
otherwise I like, what am I going to do if I can't go to work because I'm sat here doing these messages and readings for people? I'm not going to be able to have a job. How am I going to get
Yeah.
money? Like, how am I going to feed myself if I'm not charging people?
Well, and that's the way that I answer it too is that I'm in service to spirit,
Yeah.
right? So they're my boss and they make people show up for me. And yes, I'm, marketing and doing all of those things, but they always direct people towards me. And spirit knows that I need to be mentally stable. I need to be physically well. I need a roof over my head. I need food in my fridge. That needs to be provided for. I cannot do this unless I can sustain myself. So I look at the income that I receive more about sustaining me and allowing me to be in a healthy place, in a mentally healthy place, not being stressed about, oh God, how am I going to feed myself? And we have advanced as a society. Yes. Hundreds of years ago, there would be a shaman in the village and we would show up with tools for them and clothing and meat and cheese and eggs and whatever, and that would sustain them. But our system of trade has changed and we are in an exchange of money at this point in time. I'm hoping it goes back to the other way. I really do want to be a barter person. That would totally light me up. But we're not there yet. So we have to receive money for our services.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that totally. It's like we don't have like, yeah, like back in the day, like we were all supported. Like someone would come for a reading or some messages or some advice or whatever, and they would bring stuff to you as like an exchange. But
Yeah.
but the thing I don't get though is like, well, what's the exchange? If people are expecting us to do this work for free, where does the exchange come from?
Yes.
Like what?
Yeah. What are we exchanging, or what are they
Yeah,
exchanging for us? And
yeah,
I always see it sometimes when that comes up and it hasn't come up for years. It came up when I first started because I just don't think I was confident in my in my persona or even in my skills to like be like, oh yeah, I'm worthy. But when it comes up now, I always just like hold a mirror. Like, why are you expecting everything for free? You know, like this is the thing. You wouldn't go to Walmart and say, hey, I want these tomatoes. They should be mine for free because I think they should be mine. Like, that's not how any part of this world works. So why should it be in the spiritual industry?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I feel like it's like when you go and get a haircut, right? Like you don't sit down there and then expect it to be free after someone's just spent like an hour with you doing your hair. Like, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna walk out now. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and even this whole piece of people don't see the behind the scenes work. Like somebody will sit down with me for an hour and go, oh, wow, that was fun and easy. And wow, that just looked like we were having a conversation. But then it's like, you know, like that bookshelf behind you. I bet you've read majority of the books on it. You've probably, you know, I was going through all my tarot decks and like every single one of them, these were not free, people. Like the cards that I used to read you were not free. I need to pay for my tools, right? You know, none of this stuff shows up just magically in my mailbox. We need to provide for those things. So yeah, I really do find it fascinating. I do feel like that's kind of moving away. I don't think it's as bad as it used to be. People are understanding that we are actually valuable, like that information and the knowledge that we have is worth something. There's
this really great story that that people tell about like charging money for your services and your time, about somebody who, I can't remember the story and I'm going to tell it like really badly because I'm so bad at like retelling stories, but somebody wanted like a logo done for their website or something, and this person sat down and did it in like 20 minutes and then charged them like $300, and they're like, I can't believe you charged $300 for 20 minutes of work. And they're like, it's 20 minutes of work, but it's also my university degree. It's like all the other logos that I've done before that, so that this one can be quick and good. Like it's my practice, it's my tools, like, you know, all the stuff that I have, like the internet I have to pay for. It's like, you're not just paying for that 20-minute session, you're paying for like everything that person has had to do up to that point to be able to do that work for you.
Exactly. And I think majority of us offer free pieces. You know, like I have a free online group, you have a free online group, you know, you do your cards every week. Like people can show up. I think, do you do them on Mondays? Is that when you do them?
Yeah,
on Mondays.
Instagram on Mondays.
Yeah. And I have free readings every once in a while. And, you know, we are offering our services in one way, shape, or form in a free format. Just show up and use those if that's your concern. Now, it's interesting because somebody said, where was it, the question? Somebody said to me, do you have to take on a lot of debt to be in the industry that you're in? Which I thought was interesting because that comes from this real fear-based, you know, thing. And I do think, you know, there are lots of tools. We could really deeply go into debt by investing in all the things. But I always look at it like, you invest as much as you want to invest. You know, you don't need to have every single tarot deck. You don't need to have every single, you know, pretty smelly candle. You don't need to have all of those tools. It doesn't have to be an expensive industry.
Yeah, I find that it's really, like some of the messaging I feel like's out there at the moment is very much around, you need to use this, you need to buy this, you need to have this. There is even like a lot going on in the tarot community at the moment that's like, this is the new deck, like the new cool deck that you have to have. And like, I mean, I've bought into that stuff myself. I'm like, oh my God, like this deck just came out. I got to get it because I got to be like, I'm the new age hipster. I got to have the newest deck and I got to be, you know, everyone has to see me using it. And like, especially earlier on when I was kind of, you know, just starting out and I wanted to, you know, be using the right hashtags and getting seen and stuff. But now I kind of, you know, even though I have, you can probably see some of them in the background, even though I have like so many decks, there's always like just a couple that I'm using at a time.
Yeah.
Like there'll be ones that sit on the shelf for like months, and there'll be others that are just like always, like I have the Cosmic Tarot on my desk and you can see how much it's been used.
Oh, yeah, it's loved.
And it's like, that's like my go-to deck. And
Yeah.
I don't actually need any other decks. And
No.
the truth is, you don't even need any deck. Like you could just make your own deck out of bits of paper, write the, you know, draw your own pictures.
Yeah. Or
If
even turning your necklace.
Deck.
Yeah, your necklace can be a pendulum.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you don't need all the tools. And I think I said this in our last thing, you know, bad advice from a metaphysical shop owner, but like,
you don't need to buy anything.
Yeah. I taught a workshop at the beginning of May and we didn't use any of those tools. I think we each pulled an oracle card at the beginning just to see what we were going to be working through that day. But then we went outside and sat with our trees against a back or a tree against our back. We went and meditated with water. We laid on the ground. We meditated with fire. Like there's so many things that you can do that don't cost money. And, you know, even in the spiritual business realm, people always come to me for mentoring and they go, okay, so do I invest $3,000 in a website now? Do I invest, like, do I get a logo made now? Do I do this now? And they're like willing, they're ready to like chunk down thousands of dollars. And I go, all you need is an Instagram page and a Facebook page and they're free.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you start. You start creating a following. This does not have to be an all or nothing industry. You can really dip your toes in and start slowly because then you don't have to make money. That's my whole thing about this, you know, space. Even when I was a photographer, I would tell people, buy used equipment. You know, there's so many secondhand, even decks. Go to a deck trade. When I open the shop, I'm going to have deck trades once a month, which I'm super excited about.
I want to come.
I know, come.
I'll just put all my decks in a suitcase.
You know, I want to make it accessible for people. Yeah. I want to make it, you know, so everybody can have a piece of this and it doesn't have to be expensive, whether you're a business person or you're just a person that wants to use the tools for your own spiritual practice. It shouldn't be expensive.
Yeah, most of the books that I buy are just like secondhand books that I got off Amazon for like 50p plus postage. Yeah. And it's like it's great because you're getting something for a bargain, but you're also like you're recycling. Like why do you need to buy stuff new all the time? Like you don't always need to.
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand that, like you were talking about the deck is like, you know, and I get addicted. Like Colette Baron Reid's decks that she has come out with recently, I friggin' love them all. Like the images on them are so beautiful. Energy behind them. Do you have her shamanistic one?
I do, but I actually gifted it to a friend.
Oh.
I took it to a friend's house and she was like, this deck's amazing. I was like, I feel like maybe you should have it.
Yeah.
But I have so many anyway, but I know that deck and every time I go to her house, I'm like, can we pull some cards from that deck?
But yeah, you get kind of like excited about them and the imagery, and I get it. But like you said, you don't even need one deck. You can have like, I've had, what's funny, because I don't let anybody know, but like, look at my deck. My dog got it. But it kind of makes me love it a little bit more. I'm kind of like, now it's really worn in. And so many
cards.
The card is 3 of Cups.
Okay. It's not like the Tower or something, and like every time you're playing, you'll see it and you'll be like, not that one.
Yeah. And you know what? My memory is so bad that I'll never remember that the one that's chewed is the 3 of Cups. So I just like, whatever.
Yeah. But like, that's not to say that we shouldn't buy decks as well. Like, if you want to buy a deck and you see something that you really like, it's totally okay to buy it. But it's not, just telling myself this here. Like, Vix, it's okay. You can have that new deck if you really resonate with it and you really like it and you think it's going to be useful and you think you're actually going to use it, then go for it. But it's not, but you need to kind of just remember it's not really about the decks.
It's not about the decks.
Like, we all know people who have 1,000 tarot decks, but they're not really doing any work on themselves.
Yeah. Well, my little thing is, because I went to fine art school, I love the artwork. Like, this is my art collection, right? Yeah. It's not necessarily about, got to have every deck. It's like, oh, I want all the art. I want all the pretty things. Like, that's what I work on. Now, somebody asked me, how do you use manifesting in your business?
That's such a good question.
It is.
I feel like I have so many answers to that. Because I feel like, you probably feel like this too, but I feel like I'm just manifesting all the time.
Yeah.
Like, whenever I think about something, it's like I'm manifesting it. I feel like when I first started my business, I probably did a lot more of the kind of like spell work and the vision boarding. You can even see in like some of my really old YouTube videos, it was at the beginning of 2015, I made this vision board and I had it up like in front of my desk. And then when I did the videos, it was like behind me. And it was like all these things, like, because it was when I was in the process of like trying to go full time with my business. And it was like, I'm rich, I'm successful. And it's like, all this like picture of this woman like sitting on a stack of cash and like, this is my year and everything. It was fun making it. And it did work. Like, I, ended up going full time in my business and it was great. But I tend not to work like that as much anymore. I tend to just kind of like realize that I'm always manifesting. Like, every thought that I'm thinking about my business is the beginning of the manifestation. And I feel like the biggest part of the manifesting piece for me at the moment is getting the download of what the next step is, actually listening to that and paying attention to that, because how many times do they say, this is your next step, Vix? And you're like, okay, I'm going to go watch Netflix for a while. I'll just write that down and remember it for later. And then 3 weeks later, what's my next step? Why don't you ever tell me? And they're like, seriously? Getting that information, asking for it and being open to it obviously is important, then receiving it, then taking action on it, and then just surrendering and trusting that if it's for me, it will find me, and if it is the path I'm supposed to be on, then it will happen. So I kind of feel like I'm just, everything I do is like manifesting.
Well, and I think that's the key, is we start out with, writing our lists every new moon. We start out with, doing the 3 times abundance spell. We start out with, the vision board, all of those things. And then I think it just becomes innate within you. Like, I agree with you. I'm now at this point where I don't really do the things anymore. It's more of a mental, like, it's a consciousness, like an abundance consciousness, where I'm just believing and seeing my life as being abundant, because through all of those things that I did, and I still do spell work every once in a while. Like, I did some at the end in November to make the trip to England easy to pay for and easy to plan. And it was honestly the easiest trip I have ever planned in my whole entire life. And it was the easiest I'd ever paid for. And that was that spell, man. Like, whether it was me just by doing that spell, I believed that it would become the easiest trip. And that's a lot of it. For me, it's mental. So if I'm in that, bookings, why isn't anybody buying anything online, or and you start thinking that way, then nobody buys online and nobody books sessions, because that's what you're manifesting. If you're thinking about it, you're drawing it to you. So our mind is the most powerful manifesting tool out there. And if you don't believe you're already abundant, it's very hard to manifest more abundance. And I really do think that's the key. I mean, because I took your Money Love course. When was that? I can't remember. I think, when did you come out with that? Was it like a year ago or 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think it was sometime last year. Yeah.
Yeah. And the one thing that I took from it, and I'm horrible, because like I'll read one line and then I'm done the course. And I think it's like was on the first page when you said that.
You get what you need.
Well, yeah, and that's all I needed. And I'm like, good, I'm done. But it truly was that mindset of, we already have all the things we need. Why are we thinking in that lack mentality?
Yeah.
And I think that is the key, because I come from, a very humble beginnings, and I had moments in my life where I had absolutely nothing and had to friggin' panhandle for bus change. I've been in that place. So my mindset can go back to that place so quickly, because it's natural. But I find if I can work myself out of that spiral, if I can be like, nope, the sun is coming, all things are good, I am going to work towards, increasing sales. And I visualize. That was something I got from Yasmin Boland, that when you manifest, you have to visualize it like it's already done, like you've already achieved it. So I see myself every single day when I first wake up in the morning, and I visualize myself wearing one of those big flowy like moo things, and I've got my like little cup of coffee, and I'm like my perfect self with my big flowy hair and all those things, and I'm out the back and the sun is shining on me, and there's like yurts everywhere, and there's like people meditating, and there's people doing yoga, and there's just like a community. I'm a total hippie. I just realized that. I want to build a commune, I think.
I love it. Am I there?
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Okay,
You're totally there. Everybody that I love is there. But I visualize that every day. And I really do feel like, since I have visualized and since I have been doing that every single day I move closer to that goal. It's when I stop visualizing that I get myself in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like, I haven't been doing that lately. I need to get back on the visualization train.
Yeah. Well, I think it's even easy, just like seeing yourself, like, depending on what it is you want to do. If you want to be an inspirational speaker, visualize yourself standing on stage in front of thousands. If you want to be a podcaster, imagine yourself sitting in front of a speaker with all sorts of people listening. There's so many things that we can do to attract that into our lives. But, it's as simple as accepting it when it comes. Like you said, you get these downloads and then you go, that's for later.
Yep.
And I do the same, because I always go, well, how much more can I do, Spirit? Like, come on. But maybe that's just the next step. Maybe I'm supposed to let go of one of the things that I've been holding on to for too long.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, like, talking about this, and I'm just like kind of noticing my vision board in the background when I'm like, I don't even make vision boards anymore. But I just thought I'd add, like, I think I made that one like 2 years ago or something, and I just haven't taken it down. I'm not like actively working with it. I feel like everything on there has kind of already happened.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Time for a new one.
Yeah, I do like the vision board. And, like, as we were talking and we were saying, well, we don't do spell work and we don't do all of the sort of vision boarding in that same way anymore. I find it really useful for the times when I feel like I'm out of alignment, or I'm out of flow, or things aren't working, or I'm feeling stuck, or like, why isn't this growing? Why isn't this happening? Then that's kind of when I go back into, okay, well, maybe I'll make a new vision board.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll like do some kind of ritual, or I'll spend some time kind of like doing something to kind of shift that energy and to move myself back into that place. But when I'm like in that place and everything's in flow and it feels good, I just kind of go with it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what truly being in alignment is, that it's just easy. You don't even have to ponder. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to say what's next. It just shows up.
Yeah.
And that's the magic. Like, you know, when you've done all the hard work, you've put the foundation in place, and then things are just like, here you go, here you go, here you go. Like, okay, this means that I am in my purpose. And I think you had that question, wasn't it?
Yeah. Someone asked the question on Instagram about how do you really know that you're in alignment?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think there's like an ease. But for me, being in alignment, it's not only easy. Like I still experience challenges and lessons, and things will come up that will make me question things. But sometimes that is part of being in alignment, right? It's like if the universe is like, hey, that's not going to work anymore. Like you can't just keep doing what you've always been doing. Like there are going to be times when you're pushed out of your comfort zone and things are going to shift and change to help you stay in alignment. So it's not necessarily that you've gone off the rails, although sometimes you do. That's okay too. But it's more just like, okay, we need a little like, you know, we need to nudge you in this direction or in that direction so that you can stay in alignment.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I get, because I am ADHD and there's like so many little things going on, I think sometimes good things show up and you really have to have a clear vision of what it is that you want to create in the world. Like for me, if it has nothing to do with ritual, if it has nothing with intuition, it's totally outside of that, then I just go, no, that's not for me. And it doesn't mean that like that wasn't meant for me or I couldn't do it or I wasn't qualified enough. It just means, no, I have to stay on my purpose. I have to stay, you know, that whole concept of stay in your lane, man. Just like keep doing what you're doing over and over and over again. Keep repeating. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's difficult though sometimes when you don't know what your purpose is.
Oh, it is. When people, that's probably my number one question that I get asked. Like, how do you know what your purpose is?
Yeah.
And my whole thing is, what did you love when you were a kid? Like, what were you drawn to as a child? And I mean, really, if I go back, I should have always been in this role. I should have always been doing this. Cause like, I loved everything witchy. I loved everything druids. I loved everything like King Arthur and the Round Table. And like all of this stuff was present in my life. And I walked away from it because I didn't think it was a career. And even now when people ask me, well, what's my purpose? And I'm like, what do you love to do just for the joy of it? Like if money wasn't an issue, like my whole thing is take money out of it completely and then figure out what you want to do. And when you do what you love, the money shows up.
Yeah. Most of the time.
Yeah. There's dips in the industry.
Yeah. Like I was just thinking about like, you know, when I started my business and it took a while for the money to start showing up. But then when it did, then it was like, okay, here's an opportunity to take a leap of faith and see if it's going to keep showing up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So here's the question, because I think there's, you know, especially for readers, like people that are either reading tarot cards or doing soul readings or like being a seer like me, all the prices vary so much. Like, you know, there's your $10 Etsy 3-card read, and then there's the $1,100 like an hour and a half reader, right? And, you know, people ask me all the time, how do you know how to set your price? How do you know what you're worth? And how did you settle on yours?
Well, first of all, I haven't settled on mine. Because I've been taking, for the last couple of months, I've been taking a little break from doing readings. I have done a couple of readings for friends and for like previous clients who've got in touch. And so I have been reading, but I haven't been kind of advertising that I'm reading.
Yeah.
And so I've just been kind of charging everybody the old prices if they've popped up, but I am feeling another shift, another change, another new price point. And I think it's important though to like talk about when I first started and how I was really like a nobody in the spiritual community. I was just another girl with a tarot deck and a blog. Not that I'm really anything more than that now. Like I still feel like I'm just a girl with a tarot deck and a blog. Just that like I've been reading for a while now and people like my reading, so that's kind of, you know, something that you can build on.
Yeah.
But when I started, I had a really low price point for my readings. So the first, and we talked about this last time, the first 100 readings I did totally for free.
Yeah.
And then I think the price was like £20 for, I think I did like half an hour reading or 45-minute reading or something for like £20. And I think an hour was like 30 or 40, like when I first started. But then I also had like a £5 reading that was just like one card. So if you just want a really quick reading, I can pull you a card and send you through like a couple of paragraphs. And that was where I started. And not now, but before I stopped doing readings to have my little break, I was charging £99 for a reading.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen overnight. Like that happened over quite a few years. And you like, I see this happen so much, and you know, like I don't want to bag anybody out who's like trying to build their business, but I see so many people who are starting their business from scratch, from nothing. Nobody knows who they are. They're just coming into the world, into like the, you know, the business world. They're just starting to put themselves out there.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, I want to charge what I'm worth, so I'm going to charge like $1,000 for like 3 sessions or something.
Yeah.
It's like, I get it. Like, I get why people are thinking that they need to do that, or why people are wanting to do that, or why other people are telling them that they should do that. But if nobody knows who you are and nobody's seen your work or experienced your work in any way, most people, unless they get like a hit of like, you know, divine guidance that's like, you have to work with this person, which does happen sometimes, unless they're experiencing that, I feel like most people aren't going to just turn up to your website and be like, oh, I'm going to splash that amount of cash on this person that I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not suggesting that everybody needs to price themselves as low as I did when I started, but I think we need to consider like where we're at in our business, and you know, are people going to pay that? Because it's all like, yeah, you got to charge what you're worth and what you feel is right, and you absolutely do, but it also has to match with what people are willing to pay.
Well, and the thing is too, in the beginning, you want to have lots of people coming through your door, so the word of mouth machine starts moving.
Yeah.
And that very quickly, because I went from, same as you, I did 35 free readings, then I did them at $50, and I still remember people were like, no, I'm giving you $80, $90, $100. And like they were telling me, no, this was worth way more than $50. And that's when you start to increase your price. Like you start out low just to draw people in so you can build up a clientele or build up a system of word of mouth. And then you can quickly move to that higher price point. But you have to start somewhere. You have to kind of like get your name out there. And even like this weekend, I did a tarot and divination festival. I did 15-minute readings for $50. You'll never see that price anywhere else. Like that will never happen, but it's fun. It's a great way for people to get a taste of what I do. You know, I know all the people that came, there was probably, out of all the people I read, there was probably 10, 15 people I had never met. So it's a great opportunity for them to like try out readers. So even doing events like that where you can churn through a ton of people just to get the word out there, because if those 20, 30 people walk away and they were blown away by your reading, then your client base just grows really quickly. And then you can increase your prices. Like when you're in demand, then you raise your price. Like, you know, people ask me all the time, why are your readings so expensive? And I'm like, Well, personally, I don't think they are, but but I say I have read thousands of people at this point, and I do not want to be working 24/7. So I choose to raise my prices so I can work less. Like, that's the lifestyle I choose to have. And I did that in my wedding photography too. And, you know, I make it accessible. There's a payment plan. If you're like a saver, like you can make payments to like receive, because I think my sessions are at $200 Canadian and $300 Canadian. So you just half it for the British pound. But, you know, they're not ridiculous. And I mean, to be honest, you're never going to come for just an hour. Like, most people are here hour and a half, 2 hours. You know, my intuitive guidance counseling sessions can sometimes go into like the 4 hour, depending on what spirit is giving you. So yeah. And it's just like, I know sometimes people come in and I have read them and we're done in half an hour. And then I'm like reading them all the other stuff. What other questions do you have? Whatever, because spirit comes in so quickly and gives you all the information. But then I'm a healer, and I'm sure you're the same. We heal people in our sessions just by our energy and our presence. And some people need deeper healing, and it takes longer, and it takes longer to draw out those questions and get that conversation going with spirit. So, you know, we have to have a little padding in there for those sessions that are way bigger and way more expansive. And, you know, I will never, you know, I've always been this person of knowing my worth. I know that I should probably be charging double what I charge for the sessions that I have, but I also know that my market can only bear so much. Like, there's only so much people are willing to pay. And it was the same in the photography industry. You know, at the end, I was a $10,000 wedding photographer, which is crazy in my mind, but I couldn't go anymore because that's just insanity. And if I charged any less, I wasn't getting paid for my time because so much went into it. So you really have to look at so many different aspects. Where are you? If you're in a remote town in the middle of nowhere, you may not be able to charge as much as somebody that is in a densely populated area. And these are all things that you have to consider. You know, it's great now that we have the internet and we can interact with people across the world. So we can expand a little bit more and we can charge a little bit more, and it doesn't matter where we're located. But if you're reading at the local shop, and, you know, they get maybe 1 or 2 people in a day, you might want a lower price just to be, they're like, oh, it's a $20 rebate. Awesome, I'll do it. As opposed to pushing people away because you're charging $150 and they have never met you before and they have no idea.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, because I know that there's so much in what you charge that is around your self-worth and like how you feel about yourself. But I think there's so many people having that conversation about charge what you're worth. But the thing is, like, you could think that you're worth like $1,000 for an hour. You could have friends and clients who would say to you, yeah, you're worth that. But would they pay that? Like, would people actually pay that? And if they would, then great. Like, then you price yourself at the right point. But it doesn't, because I think, like, there's a thing, and I think this is especially like in the sort of the more coaching kind of industry, where it's like you're told to really set your prices really, really high, like thousands of dollars to do, like, you know, a month of some coaching with somebody. And I feel like there's just so much programming and like information around that of like, well, you have to charge that much, and people have to understand that it's a commitment, and they have to pay that money to you to really feel like they're showing up for themselves, and like all of that kind of messaging. And I think it's interesting, and I think there's definitely parts of that we could draw on. Like, well, are you charging £20, and does it feel too low? Does it feel like, you know, you're not actually making any money? Like, how does that feel for you? Is it maybe related to the idea that you don't think that you're very good, and work through all of that stuff? But I think there's also a point where it's like, well, we want to be accessible and we want people to be able to work with us. So it's like, how can you find that sweet spot of like what you think you're worth and what people are willing to pay?
Yes. Oh, definitely.
It's not always the same.
Well, and what I did was, I'm a huge fan of starting out low-ish. Like, don't undervalue yourself. Like, if somebody does a $10 reading, I'm like, why? Like, you have to do like 1,000 of those to make a decent income.
Yeah.
But, start off where you feel comfortable. And then when you're booked solid and you don't have any spots left, know that you need to increase your value. Like, don't just burn yourself, because you will burn yourself out. I've burnt myself out in both my photography and my reading business because I was doing too much. I mean, we've talked a lot about the psychic headache after a day of doing full reads, and it just friggin' drains you. And actually, I'm surprised this weekend I didn't get it at all. And I was like reading, and I'm like, ooh, the energy must have been so amazing that I didn't even feel it. But I really do think that, having a full roster is amazing. But what about if you increased your prices a little bit and then a couple people fell away and then you had time to work on yourself and you have time to like do your spiritual practice and get your downloads? Because that's where I'm at now. I don't want to be working 5 days a week doing readings every hour on the hour. That's just not the lifestyle that I choose to have. And I think that's part and parcel of it. First of all, look at your life. What do you want it to be? Because I think we were talking about this in reference to the whole 6-figure income concept.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because I want to beat that down so hard. Like I don't want to say it's destroyed our industry, but I think it's messed with our heads. You hear that voice so much. I can make you a 6-figure reader. I can make you a 6-figure spiritual business. Like, I'm sorry, but massage therapists, they can only do so much. Like, I saw somebody selling a program specifically to massage therapists the other day, and I'm like, that is a very physical business. Like, and massage therapists are especially, I don't know if they're regulated in England, but they're regulated in Canada, so they can only really charge so much. To have a 6-figure business in massage or Reiki or any of those things, that is like working every hour of the day, every day of the week. And do you want that? Do you even want that? So where is it that you want to be? I just want to be able to take 2 days off a week, go out for lunch with friends, have a chat with Vix, like, I want to have a life. And to me, that's being abundant. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that so much. And you know that I'm like, the whole 6-figure business thing just stresses me out. And I feel like there is so much messaging around the 6-figure business. Like, I see every time I go into my Facebook, it's like the first, I can scroll for like 10 seconds and I've seen 2 ads that are like, I'll help you build your coaching business to 6 figures. Like, it's everywhere. And I have so many like questions about it. Like, first of all, who are these people? Like, I know some of them are probably really legit, and that's cool. But there's like, you hear all these stories about these people who are running these businesses that teach people how to run a business, but they've never actually run a business apart from their business teaching other people how to run a business. It's like, what? Like, what have you done? Like, what's your backstory? Like, how did you create a 6-figure business, but not by selling this course? Because so many people are making their 6 figures through selling these courses. And it's just like, what? But the other thing that really kind of stresses me out is like, well, why do we all need to be earning 6 figures? And it's going to be nice to earn 6 figures for sure. But it's like, yeah. But yeah, it's just like, why are we so focused on earning that much money? Like, I used to be a teacher. I didn't earn that much money, but people still thought about that as being like enough, like a fairly decent wage. And like, why can't we just think about running our businesses from a place of the bills are paid, I've got some money left over, everything's sweet.
Yeah.
Like, why isn't that enough? And why don't we see that as success?
I know. Well, and I think because it's so prevalent in the industry and so prevalent in what we're doing that I think it's kind of like that Pavlov's dog. You see it enough times, you think that you need to have it. Like, you know, oh, you hear the bell, I got a drink. Oh, I see 6 figures, that's what I have to have. And we've never, you know, our parents before us just went to work 9 to 5 every single day, and they came home and they had a decent income. And I really, you know, when did we step away from that? When did we think that everybody needs to be a millionaire? When did we think that everybody needs to have, you know, more? And we've brainwashed ourselves into thinking this is the norm and this is what everybody should have. And yes, we all want to be abundant. Yes, we all want to be, you know, successful. But what does that mean to you? Where's your contentment? Where's your joy? Where's your, you know, I've done the things I need to do, you know, to make myself happy. And we've moved away from what is really important. I'm just, for one, I'm not a person that wants to work 24/7. And, you know, in my mind, if I could go on 2 trips a year, if I could, you know, get my son an experience for his birthday, or, you know, go, like, I'm actually going away with my husband this summer for the first time in like 8 years. Me and him are going away for more than just one night. Like, how amazing is that? That's what lights me up. Like, you know, and that makes me feel abundant. So what is it that makes you feel abundant? And focus on those things instead of focusing on a dollar amount.
I feel that so much. It's really interesting, isn't it? Like, I don't remember, like, when I was younger, I don't really remember wanting money. Like, I'm pretty sure I spent my whole 20s not really caring about money at all and just wanting to do the things that I loved. And like, what's going to make me happy. And then it's like suddenly everything shifted, and it's like all the like so many money mindset books that are out there are like, they're about how to make more money, which is why I made my money course, because I'm like, it's not about the money. You can have like so much money and still be miserable. You can have very little money and be really happy.
Well, and we were even talking too early, because we always do our little pre-talk, so we know what we're going to talk about. But we were talking about the idea of, and I've already seen it in my business, I run a retail shop. So the more money you make, the more you have to spend. So there never really is this, like, you know, every year I make a little bit more, but every year I spend a little bit more. So there's not this, you know, happy final, I've arrived, I've made an amount of money and I am successful and I have achieved everything I need to achieve. There's always going to be another step, and there's always going to be another step, because as your income increases, so do your expenses. You know, both of us have online platforms. Both of us have ways to receive, and you've got to pay for all those. You know, every single order that comes in, I've got to then spin around and pay for the shipping, pay for the packaging, pay for the, you know, marketing to get people into my shop. It's not like, you know, there is that perfect place where you finally go, I have arrived, I'm making all the money, I am abundant, and I don't have to do anything anymore. It's a hustle, and it will be a hustle at every single stage. Yes, the consistency starts to flow, and I think that's really where what we should be focusing on is creating consistency throughout your business, or consistency throughout your life. Like, if you're, I was going to use the term mundane. It sounds like so derogatory, the term mundane. Do you think that's using that term? Because I'm like, no, there's no difference between those two, spiritual and the mundane. But like, I think all of us just need to start realizing that there's not a happy number. Like 6 figures is not the happy number.
Yeah.
You know, if you're making 6 figures, like we said, you're probably employing somebody. You're probably, you know, having to pay for a service to do all your marketing. Like, oh my gosh, the email list. There's this bane for me because it's like, yeah, I want more people on my email list, but then
pay for them.
Yeah, that costs me a lot of money to have those people, because I don't think people understand that either. Like, to have 3,000 people on an email list costs me $120 a month just to maintain that email list. Like, to have somebody store those emails and have them, like, you know, and that's crazy. So, like, if you have 2 million people on your email list, I don't even want to know what that costs. Like,
I feel like that's so important, because it's like, you know, depending on where you're at in your business, like I still do pretty much everything myself. Like I don't have anybody working for me. Like everything is me, which really sucks sometimes. Because I'm like, I want an assistant. But every time I think about getting an assistant, it's like, well, it could be useful in some ways, but it just doesn't really make sense for where I'm at right now in my business. Yeah. But that also means that at the end of the month, like all the money that comes in, apart from my expenses, obviously, like it's all my money. Yeah. Which is like, oh, cool. Okay. So I know where I'm at. I know what's happening. But
well, and then there's not the pressure of having to like be responsible for somebody's livelihood.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's frightening to me.
As well as the money. It's like, like that's a whole different thing. But it's like, we don't think about that when people are talking about these 6-figure businesses. They're not counting like all the money that's going out, and all these people are paying for their Facebook ads, because I see their Facebook ads all the time. Yes. And Facebook ads aren't cheap, especially if you see like how many views they have, and you're like, that didn't get that many views because of, you know, just because people were liking it. It got that many views because that many people have seen it, which means they are paying a lot of money for people to see that ad.
Yeah, because we pay per click, right? That's the thing.
Yeah. So it's like, what is really in your pocket at the end of the month? Like, it might not actually be that different from what I'm earning.
No. Well, I know somebody that pays like $3,000 a month in Facebook ads. Wow. That like, just like, oh, I just don't know.
That's a lot.
Because we all know those clicks don't mean that you're actually getting sales.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many other ways to create income other than, you know, having those clicks. And it's just being consistent. Like, keep showing up, make sure your face is in front of everybody. And then you can start, you know, I did this yesterday. I am so guilty of not telling people what my services are. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I forget that not everybody is following every single thing that I do. Yeah. So like, I was at this thing on the weekend, and my friend Jassy from the Honor the Temple was there helping me. And I told her about my subscription group, and she's like, oh, I didn't know you had a subscription group. And I said, oh yeah, I don't even think I've told the world that yet. Like, so yesterday I posted on Instagram and then Facebook about it, and I got like 5 people sign up. I'm like, sweet. I need to tell people more often what I do.
Yeah, I had somebody like send me a DM, like it's quite a few months ago now, but they sent me a DM and they were like, hey, do you do readings? It's like, okay, might be time to tell people what I actually do here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, wow, like you follow me on Instagram and you don't know that I do readings. I mean, it does say in my bio, like, you know, soul reading, like it's got all the stuff in the bio, but people don't always look at that. Like, they see your post and they resonate with your post and they just go straight into the DM. So it's like, I really need to be a bit better at doing that too. But I think we all do. But I feel like we do it differently, because we do it from a place of like, well, I'm just sharing this with you. If you want to come, you can, rather than like that salesy, like almost like a manipulation, you know, find your pain point and like stick it in until you feel so bad that you're going to pay for this. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I'm like, what were your other questions? Oh God, I'm getting old.
Questions.
I'm like,
well, I had that question about being in alignment.
Right.
I feel like we sort of answered that.
Yeah. My whole somebody asked, is there money in what you do?
Ooh.
And I was like, well, yes.
Depends.
It depends. I really do think one of the things that I really, and I think we're both really good at this. We both really hustle in a way, like, but in alignment with what we want to do. Like, we're consistently showing up and we're consistently showing people, even though we need to get better at how often we show people what we offer. We're learning as we go. Yep. Everybody's learning. But I really think that it is dependent on your situation. Like, how much do you want to put in to receive? So if you I see people all the time, they'll do like a post on Instagram or Facebook once a week, and they maybe have like 200 followers. Well, no, if you only have 200 followers, you've got to be posting like 3 to 6 times a week, and you've got to be showing up, and you've got to be, showing people who you are. That was the big tick over for me when I was the Barefoot Medium. Yeah, it was great for my book because that's what it's called, the Barefoot Medium, but people didn't see me. And then when I finally decided for it to be Emma Smallbone, people connected with me. And then they wanted to show up for me, and they wanted to like receive things from me. And if you're afraid to show your face in this industry, you're not going to go very far. People want to trust you. They want to know who you are. They want to know what you believe in. They want to, stand up with you when you get ranty on Facebook. They want to like feel supported by you. And it's just like, you can't be just, I'm trying to even think like, like, what would, when somebody's business name is like Butterflies and Daydreams or something, that's not saying anything about what you offer. It's not like you've got it, like you're the new age hipster. I was the Barefoot Medium, but you've kind of started moving towards just Vix, right? Like I've kind of noticed that in your...
Yeah, I don't really know if that was intentional, because I used to always start like my videos and say, hey, it's Vix from New Age Hipster, and then I just like couldn't be bothered to say it all, so it's just like Vix. Yeah. But yeah, well, I mean, I think we talked about this before, but I started New Age Hipster. I had the idea for the name for a long time before I actually started my blog, but I was also teaching, and I didn't want to have like my full name searchable. Right. So that was a big part of the reason I didn't use my full name for a long time. But and I thought, over the years I've thought a lot about, well, maybe I should change it, and maybe I should just be Vix Maxwell, or, even use my full name. Like I've, thought about that like so many different times, but I haven't done that. Yeah. I like New Age Hipster. I feel like it's just me now. Yeah. And I feel like people know it, and I don't really want to do the whole rebranding thing at this point. And maybe I will at some point in the future, because I don't know if you can be the New Age Hipster forever. Like, can I be like 50 years old, 60 years old, and still be the New Age Hipster? I don't know. maybe I can. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, no, I think that's really why I stepped away from the Barefoot Medium, because mediumship is part of what I do, but it's not all of what I do. And I didn't want to be labeled in that way. So I just thought, if I'm Emma Smallbone, I can be a healer. I can be, a tarot card reader. I can do all of those things under that one label. Yeah. And it just made it so easy. But I think the key in this industry is you have to show your face. You have to show your personality, and you have to be truly authentic. Like, people can smell out inauthenticity like so quickly. It's crazy. And I think just figure out what it is that you love and focus on that thing, and just bring it forward and know it. Like, do all the research. Like, when I first started, I didn't know. I didn't even like crystals. Like, and now I sell them in my shop. Like, I thought crystals were for like hippy dippy new agey people. And that I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to talk to dead people. And but then a friend of mine handed me a crystal and I was like, Jesus, this thing is amazing. And then I did the research before I actually started like talking about it or teaching about it. And I knew it. It wasn't like I went, well, I think this is selenite and I think it does it. No, it was like, I know this is what it does. Yeah. So I just think there's that piece of doing your research and putting your best foot forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the money shows up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think
but it's not just sitting there.
Yeah. I think if you're asking the question though, like, is there money in what you do? I think you're asking the wrong question.
Yeah.
I think if you're asking that question, the answer is probably no for you.
Yeah.
Because if you get into this industry because of the money or because you think you're going to make lots of money, like, don't do it. Yeah. that's my advice. If you're doing it for the money,
I think we said that last week too. Like, if this is where you want to make $1 million, like there's literally probably a handful of people making that kind of money.
Yeah.
Like, and we could probably name, and we all know those names. Like, we all know the people that are making that money.
But also, like, some of those people I know who are making a lot of money in this industry aren't very authentic, and they haven't done the work, but they're very good at business.
Yeah.
So they've taken something that's cool and kind of like niche-y, and they're like, I'm going to make this amazing business. And so they are making loads of money, but they don't necessarily know any more than we know, or, you know, are any better at reading than we are. It's just that they have a different skill set.
Yeah. No, exactly. Well, and that's the thing. Like, you know, I think people see us and go, wow, they're rocking it. Like, some people go like, one of the questions for me was, how do you find the time? And I'm like, oh dear Lord, like, if you knew how much I laid on that couch over there and cuddled my puppy, like, there's lots of time. There is lots of time. And it doesn't, if you're efficient and you know what you're doing, because I come from a business background, like, I knew how to run a business before I started this business. It's just about having systems in place to make it easier. It doesn't have to take up a ton of time. It doesn't have to be stressful and overwhelming. Just like, know when to post and how often to post and how to hit your target market at the right time. And then it's not really a hustle. It's just consistency, like programming the machine to do the things that you need it to do. Like, I love reading your emails every week.
I love writing them most of the time. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to say this week. And I always think of something.
People sign up for my email list all the time, and I think I've sent, in the last 5 months, I think I've sent 3 emails. Well, that's something I need to get better at.
Yeah, or maybe it's just not your thing. Maybe emails isn't your thing. That's okay too.
It's not. I don't know. And it's so funny, my friends, because also I feel like your emails tend to have lots of content in it, lots of information. Like, this is what I'm offering, but also here's like the energy of the week, or what are you feeling this week? But I hate being, and my friend, I don't know if she created the term or she just picked it up. She calls it being an asshole. Like, if all you send out is, here, buy my product, here, buy my stuff, here's my course. And you're asking for people instead of being a resource and giving information. Yeah. I think that's when we go wrong in this industry too. There has to be a give and take. There has to, and that's how abundance flows. You can't be like, I want, and then not give anything. You have to put stuff out in the universe for it to show up. It's why, you know, every once in a while I give away a free reading, or every once in a while I give away crystals, or, you know, I give away some free information. Like, I just did a mini woo parenting course in my group. It has to be a flow. Yeah. Money is a mindset. It has nothing to do with the actual physical money anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
It is.
But I think for most people I know who are doing this work, and they're doing it successfully and have made a full-time business out of it. Like, most of us aren't rolling around in cash. We're doing okay.
No.
We're fine. We have, you know, we're abundant, we're prosperous in the ways that we need to for our life and what we can handle and what we can bring in. But I don't personally know a lot of people who are, in fact, I know nobody personally who's earning like 6 figures as a tarot reader.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I don't think it's physically possible unless you're charging like $2,000 a reading.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible to be able to do that many readings to bring it. Like, you have to have multiple sources of income. And I think that's one of the other things that I have always been very clear to people about. Like, I have my readings and I have my store, and then I have my book, and then I have classes. Like, there's multiple streams of income coming in, because what you need to do is, if you only rely on one thing, if that thing kind of like dissipates for a while, like we all know Christmas and like January, February, March, it's going to be slow.
Yeah.
Because people are focused on other things, or they're hiding, or they don't want to know what's going on with them. So there's going to be a downturn. So you need something else to really bring some income while that is slow. And I've always been a fan of doing more than one thing in your business. So there's not that stress and overwhelm to like book 20 readings a week or book whatever it is a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that a lot. Like, I'm in like such a blessed place at the moment, because I have the circle, which is the spiritual development circle, and I have the mastermind. And because I've gotten those to a point where they can pay the bills, I've been able to step back from readings and say, you know what, I need a break from readings, because I've been reading, like, since I started my business like 5 years ago, I've been doing readings every week. Pretty much. And it's like, sooner or later you need to have a step back from that and say, actually, I put a lot of energy out in that way. I'm just going to have a little pause and just like recharge before I go back to doing that.
Well, and that's the thing.
Yeah, but that's taken me quite a few years to be able to set all of that up. Like, at the very beginning of my business, I didn't have the people, I didn't have the community to be able to say like, hey, everyone, like, you know, come and join these programs, so I don't have to do readings anymore. Like, I wasn't there. But yeah, I think that it's really important to have like other things going on, but you also can't have those other things going on until you've kind of started to build your community as well. Otherwise, you're just in that same place as like, well, no one knows who you are. You know, like when you're trying to, like we were talking about before, it's like, well, no one knows who you are. You have to get out there and show yourself and meet people and do all of that stuff first.
Well, that's what happened when I opened, because I had a private group always for people that came to my workshops so they could connect after the fact and talk about all things wooey. Well, then it became a subscription group, and, you know, I was making an income from that, but there was like, it was hovering around 100 people. It wasn't a huge amount of people. And one day I just got this message, like it was a hardcore download in the shower, said, you need to open your group to the public and you need to do a 21-day course. I was like, well, what's the course about? Like, I mean, what the course is, how am I going to do this? How am I going to make all the people that have been paying for this group happy? What am I going to do for them? Because I don't want to piss them off. And, you know, this message just kept coming in. You need more people. You need a bigger audience. So I opened up the group, and I think within a week I had 600 people in there because I promoted this ritual without rules. And now it's almost at 2,000 people, and I have a much bigger audience to draw from. And that's the thing. That didn't happen overnight. That's happened over the last, well, how long have I been teaching workshops? Probably the last 6 years. I've grown it to that piece. It takes time and effort and I think offering.
Like that's one of the things that really bugs me about all of the 6-figure business ads. It's as if like you're going to take this course and then next month you will earn 6 figures. And it's like, it doesn't, for most people, it doesn't work like that. And for people who are doing it authentically and heart-centered and spirit-led, like it usually doesn't work like, I'm not going to say it doesn't work like that for anybody, but certainly not for anybody I know.
Yeah.
Certainly not for me.
When you get your group to a certain point, then you're going to start like advertising for that group, and that's going to cost you money and time, and then you'll get more and more people in. And what I've noticed is I reopened my subscription group because people were like, well, now there's too many people in here. And I'm like, well, 2,000, like, to me, it's not too many people, but they wanted a more intimate group. So I reopened my smaller subscription group, and I'm going to keep it at 111 people. That's the max that I'm going to have in there because, you know, I want to give them the time. They're paying for it. I want to give them the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, most of us have a free group, a paid group, like mastermind or, you know, there's all of these things going on. It's not like we're just showing up in one space and raking it in. Like it's, you know, you know, like that's not how this is working. It's so much behind the scenes going on, and so much to kind of, I know you have some moderators in your group, but my one group, I don't have any it's just me. And, you know, moderating 2,000 people is a little bit of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay. I do pretty good. I have very strict rules, and there's a 2 strikes and you're out. So I delete a lot of people and a lot of messages.
I love that. I'm like, oh, give them another chance.
Oh God.
Maybe they didn't understand. Maybe they're having a bad day.
Delete.
I'm maybe like 8 strikes and you're out.
Yeah.
But then it depends on what the strike is. Like anybody who is, if you're arguing or anything like that, you can just go. Like that's not okay. But yeah.
Yeah. My whole thing is I hate sales pitches. Don't get like mine is about like learning. It's about talking about all things woo. Please don't sell your stuff in there. Like that is not what that group is for. People are already being inundated everywhere else in Facebook. They do not need to be sold to in my group. Like, let me release that.
Yeah. I feel like there's so many people out there, and I guess they're getting this from somewhere. There was like a thing that started happening. Suddenly, like everybody started sending DMs. Like, I don't know if you got any of it. Like, this only happened recently, but you suddenly started to get like all these DMs where people would tell you about their products and services in a DM, like on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Yeah. It's like, this is new. Obviously, like someone had been teaching, like doing some business teaching about like, hey, pop into people's DMs, like they'll really appreciate it. It's like, that's not for me.
No.
Yeah.
Or go like the other thing, which you know what, I did this. I was looking for community when I did this, but I went into a bunch of different people's groups, and because I was searching for witchy community, like there's not a ton of them, or not a ton of great ones out there where you really get good content. And, you know, go in and build a community, help people, answer questions. Yeah. That's huge. But don't answer the question with the intent to make them come to you for a reading or buy your services. Answer it because you're genuine and you're authentic and you want to help people. You know, the worst thing I always see is, I have the answer to this, DM me. And I'm like, no, this is not a place to get new clients. This is a place to answer the questions in public, openly, so everybody can get that answer.
Yeah, I see that happen all the time.
Well, and again, that is not an abundance mindset. So let's talk about that for a second, because I think the abundance mindset that people are teaching out there is so counterintuitive to what abundance is. Like I have mentioned this quite a few times, and it sends me, and if you do it, hey, it's totally cool if it works for you. But the whole check thing, like writing my abundance check every month, and I get it. Like Jim Carrey wrote himself a check for $1 million, and then one day he went and cashed it, and that totally worked. But if you do it I get it. I really do. But if that's all you're doing every month, if you're just writing a check to yourself and thinking this money is going to show up, that is not enough. That is not an abundance mindset. An abundance mindset is there's more than enough for all of us. There is, abundance is always flowing. You are abundant, or you are abundance. We are flowing within that piece. And, it really comes down to that. If you're always looking for somebody to buy your services, or if you're always selling, it looks and feels desperate. Yeah. And when people feel desperation, they're not going to buy your services. They're not.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's interesting too, because I feel like it's changing, but I feel like so much of the the prosperity teachings of the new age for a really long time, probably since the 80s, and we got to remember, a lot of this stuff did come out of the 80s. It's okay to be rich and spiritual. All of the affirmations of I am rich beyond my wildest dreams, all of those affirmations. I love some of that stuff. It's great.
Yeah.
But we got to remember that came out around the same time as greed is good.
Yeah.
All the consumerism of the 1980s, all of that stuff was going on.
You also have to remember the interest rates in the 80s were at 25%. People were making a ton of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it totally changed.
Yeah, but people were very focused on the material.
Yeah.
And for a long time, it was the prosperity teachings were all about your material wealth. And I feel like there's starting to be a little bit of a shift now, but I feel like we're at the very beginning of it, where people are realizing, actually, it's not about the stuff. And it's not about the money. It's about how I feel about myself and how I live my life. And because you're seeing it everywhere, people are going minimalist. People are getting rid of their stuff. People are living in tiny houses. People are not buying as much clothes anymore. People are thrifting. People are getting really conscious about all of this stuff, but people are feeling better. It's oh, I got rid of everything in my house and I suddenly felt free.
Yeah.
I felt good for the first time in years. And I think that's I feel like that's the next phase of what prosperity is. I feel like it's prosperity consciousness that we're bringing in. We're not asking for more and more stuff. We're not asking for more and more cash money. We're asking for this feeling. I want to feel prosperous in my life. I want to feel like I have enough. I want to get up in the morning and be this is great. I love my life.
Yep.
Even if you don't have loads of extra money, it's I have everything I need. I've got food in the fridge. I've got clothes on me. I have my family. I have my friends. I have Wi-Fi. I'm good.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's still this real hangover from the 80s and of it's okay to surround yourself with golden statues if that's what you want. And it is okay if that's what you want. And if that really does feel in alignment with your soul. But are you doing that consciously? Is that really what you want? Or is that because you think that's what prosperity is? It's all about you and your feeling and how you feel inside about yourself and about your life. It's not about the gold statues that you have in your house.
Yeah.
At least that's my understanding of what prosperity is. It's not about
I totally agree. And the thing is too, what does it take for you to get to that place? So as a photographer, it was working every single weekend and every single weeknight, especially in the summer and the fall. Yeah. And I actually reposted something, a memory from, I think it was 4 years ago. And I said, I had a wedding, 2 portraits on a Friday, and then I had a wedding on the Saturday, and then I had a day off, and then I had a portrait on Monday and a portrait on Tuesday. And I actually wrote, I'm never going to do that again because I didn't get to see Henry this weekend. And I was financially abundant because I was producing so much work, but I was emotionally and mentally strapped. I didn't was abundant because I was missing out on the most important things in my life. And I think for me, that's when it all changed. That's when I had this mindset shift about abundance was, yeah, sure, I'm making a ton of money, but I don't know what it's like in the UK, but here there's this really sweet spot in the tax system. You either have to be making $120,000 or under $90,000 to not get screwed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So me and my husband actually made the conscious decision for me to make under $90,000 when I was a photographer, because there were quite a few years where I was paying like $30,000, $40,000 in taxes at the end of the year. And it's like, why did I just hustle?
Yeah.
There goes all my profit. Like, that's all the money that I made that I thought I was like, woo, I'm rolling it. Now I had to pay horrible amount of taxes. So then we just adjusted our lives to be like, okay, well, that means we can go on 1 trip a year instead of 2 trips a year. But we're really happy when we go on that trip because I'm not totally stressed out. And to me, that's abundance. To me, that's actually making a conscious decision and having a conscious life when you know why you're even doing it in the first place.
Amen to that. Exactly. And people are still not talking about this. I feel like people are starting to talk about this, but I feel like so much of the prosperity teachings and the books, like I've read, so you probably see some of them behind me, I've read so many books on money. And while there are things in those books that have certainly helped me, there are a lot of things in those books that I question as to, like, is this really how it needs to be for everyone? I started reading, there was a book, I don't usually like to bag out books because I'm not, I'm like, if I don't have anything nice to say, I won't say anything at all. But there's a book, The Millionaire Mindset.
Okay,
It's like a massive book, like, everybody. And a couple of people told me, I think this was like when I was struggling with my pricing and I was, people were like, your prices are too low, read The Millionaire Mindset. It's like, okay, I'll read it. And I read like 3 pages of it and I was like, no, like, this isn't for me. It was all about, because I thought millionaire mindset would be like, well, that'll help me to get into an abundant, prosperous mindset.
Yeah.
But actually the book is literally about becoming a millionaire. Like, you literally need to be a millionaire to feel that. And I'm like, first of all, I don't think I'm going to be a millionaire from New Age hipster. Like, I don't think that's what, maybe I'm open to it if that's what's supposed to happen. But I don't think that will happen. I don't think that this is the business that's going to happen for. But I don't need that. And that's not to say that I couldn't, like, if I had $1 million, I would be like a really soulful custodian of that money and do something really great with it. I absolutely would. But I'm not going to sit and like spend my time reading a book that tells me that being a millionaire equals happiness and being a millionaire equals freedom.
Yeah, it doesn't.
A millionaire is like the ultimate goal. And once you're a millionaire, then you'll be happy and then your life will be good. I don't know if anyone else got that from that book. It's like what I got. And I was like, this isn't right for me.
Yeah. There was a documentary that I watched on Amazon Prime, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's about this generation of people that grew up in the 80s and were very wealthy. And it's about this documentary photographer that followed them since the 80s and then was re-documenting them in this age. And one of the guys that was in there was at the crux of the fall when was that? In the States, when everything crashed. 2008, I think, was when that happened. And he is incarcerated. He's not in jail, but he cannot leave Germany because if he comes back to the States, he will be arrested. And he was talking about wealth, and he's an incredibly arrogant human being. And he has lived the life where he has like planes and yachts and all of these things. And the thing that I really took from that was you know, he got really emotional when he was talking about his wife and how much he had ignored his wife and how his phone was like constantly and constantly, you know, he was constantly talking about business and not being with his family. He said, if anybody says to me that money will make them happy, I know they've never actually had money.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, and it just, every single time I say it, it makes me shiver, because money is not the solution. It is your mindset. It is how you feel about your life. If you're not content in the life that you have, it's not because of the dollar amount that's in your bank account. It's because you're just not content. So how can we become content with what we already have? That is the way to abundance, because then when you become content with what you already have, then you start to attract more of the things that you want in your life.
Mm.
And I just think that is the key. Like, point blank, be content with where you're at. And then everything else shows up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that like that's one of the things that we sort of miss when we're doing our manifesting, because everyone talks about lack, like, you know, if you're in energy of lack, like it's that you're wanting and that you don't have something and you're like focused on what you don't have. But actually in a lot of manifestation practices, you're also focusing on what you don't have, because you're saying, I want this thing because this thing is going to make me happy. So I'm trying to call in $1 million or whatever it is. And it's like the universe won't give it to you because you're so in that energy of like, I need this money because my life sucks until I have it. And I think, I mean, it's, you know, it's difficult to, it's really hard to like find that line between being present and being grateful and being happy with where you are and then asking for the next things to come in. But certainly a lot harder to ask for the next things to come in when you're not in that place now.
Yeah.
Like you're just not grounded in anything. You're just like floating around and you're trying to bring in this stuff. And it's like, well, how can I get to you? Because I don't even know where you are.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, to be honest, I know we've had these conversations ourselves where throughout the month, like the first week of every month, I'm always like, oh dear God. And I'm totally in lack mindset because I've just paid all my bills.
Yeah.
And the bank account is like looking kind of bare. And then like the second week, you're starting to feel a little bit better and things are good. And then like by the third week, it's like, yeah, oh my God, I love my fucking job again. And then by the last week, you're like, oh God, I got to pay my bills.
Yeah.
So it's,
yeah.
So there is this constant conversation that you're having with yourself. But if you can realize that this is your cycle of abundance, that it's not shocking at the beginning of every month that you have to pay your bills. Like you're not like, oh geez, yeah, I need that money. That you can actually realize that it has to be outcome and income for that flow to happen. And that's a good thing. Because if you can pay your bills, that means you are abundance.
Yeah. Because I think that the thing that we forget as well is there's a lot of people that can't pay their bills.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people living on this planet who don't even have like clean water or house or like, you know, and we all sit around complaining about like how bad things are and like, oh, I didn't like get as many clients as I wanted to this month. Oh, like everything sucks and the universe sucks. Like, but there's so much poverty and suffering on this planet that if you just stop and think about it for a second, maybe you realize actually, maybe I'm okay. And maybe I even have some spare money right now that I could gift to somebody else that needs it. And like, that's one of the practices in Money Love is like, give some money away. Like, even if you don't have any, even if you think you don't have any, you know, like if you only have like $5 to spare, give it to somebody else and see how that shifts your energy and see how it can help somebody else as well.
Yeah. Well, and that piece of, oh, my brain just went blank there about, you know, it has to go out to come in and we have to pay our bills. Like, you know, I used to be so bad because I come from a place of lack. I always think that, oh, if there's money in my account, it's a good thing, but I'll leave a bill. You know, I did that for years. where it's like, I have all this money, but that bill really needs to be paid. But if I pay that bill, I won't have this money. Well, no, you can't do that. You have to pay that bill. Show up and pay your bills and have gratitude for the fact that you could pay your bills. And if this number isn't a huge amount, that is okay, because that bank account is going to fill up again. Right? Yeah. And that piece of, this is where I was going to go with this. At the end of every single group I do or large event that I do, I always say to people that we're here, especially like for me in Canada, we're in Canada. We live in Canada. It is an abundant place. So even if you're having a hard day and you don't feel like you're abundant, you are safe, you are secure, you probably have a roof over your head, you probably have people that love you. Realize that you're already content. And that is the key. Like, we need to start realizing that if we're in if you're watching this video, that means you have a computer or a phone, which is cheap. It means you have an internet connection, which isn't cheap, especially here in Canada. There's so many things that you already have. If you have one of these, you have the ability to make money, because I can literally run my business from my phone. I don't need anything other than this. You can create abundance for yourself. You just have to start realizing that it is even possible, and that you don't necessarily have to make that big giant number, because that's daunting. I tell people, start with a small number. If you're looking to manifest stuff, just start telling Spirit, I need $555 in my bank account at all times. Ask for it. Tell the universe, this is what, and I always say, or more. $555 or more. Because that'll cover regular day things. Start asking for it. I don't think that there's this magical spell.
Yeah, I really resonated a lot with what you said about, if you have someone who loves you, and how important that is. Because, I've been in a situation in my life where I didn't have very much money. I didn't have anywhere to live. Things were really tough, but I had a friend who had a couch, and so I went and slept on the couch for a while. And as much as that whole experience really, really sucked, I had a place to go, and it wasn't the most glamorous couch in the world. And it was certainly not the best sleep I've had in my life. But if you have somewhere to go, that is worth so much more than because I think so many of us freak out. It's well, I've got to have savings, and I've got to have some money in case everything goes wrong, or in case I end up homeless, or in case I end up jobless. We have to have all this spare money. And it's great to have spare money, of course, because shit does happen. But if you have been focused on your relationships, and you've been connecting with other humans, and you've been loving people and supporting people, then if you need them, they will love and support you, and you will always have somewhere to go, even if you don't have any money. So we put all this pressure on ourselves to have so much money just in case something goes wrong. But what about having some beautiful friendships and relationships in case something goes wrong? It's we don't think about that.
Exactly. It's so important. I remember one of our, what's her name? Is it Jess Carlson? Jess. She recently, her computer died, and she didn't have enough to buy her computer, and she just asked her community, and her community showed up. It wasn't everything she needed to buy her new computer, but she was in a tight spot, and that's that piece of people showed up for her. That's the piece of be authentic, be nice, be loving and giving at all times, because then the universe shows up for you.
Yeah, and to me, that's what true prosperity and abundance is, right? It's getting kicked out of your flat, not having any money, not having anywhere to go, but knowing that there's somebody out there who has a couch, and they're it's okay, Vix, come and sleep on our couch for a while till you sort it out. That, to me, that is almost worth so much more than being it's okay, I got some money and I'll just go and stay in a hotel for a while. It's it really means a lot when people open their door to you in that way. And it's not about the cash money. It's
No.
about the relationships, which is the real prosperity.
Yeah. No, I would. And the other thing is too, like, if you're making 6 figures, there is a hustle to it that is so intense that you're really, and I've done it because I have been like, I'm in 6 figures in my photography business. I lost all my friendships. If you're shooting every single weekend and every single weeknight, when do you have time to have those relationships? When do you have time to be abundant in all places in your life? You don't. And I'm not saying that, you know, all 6-figure people are on a machine and a treadmill and they don't have any friendships. Of course, people have friendships, but it gets harder. Let's talk more about finding balance in our spiritual business and finding joy in our spiritual business, and instead of just chasing that money piece. Because I can honestly say, for the first time in my life, it's been the last 2 years, I am so content. I am so like, this is, you know, like I got to come and see you in March and not even think about the worrying about having to pay for it. It just was easy for me to make that happen because I have that consistency and I have more than enough to live the lifestyle that I want to live. And it's not giant, but I can do it. And I'm happy doing it. And I'm not burnt out and I'm not overwhelmed. And I have great relationships and I have all those things. That's what we should be aiming for.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you make 6 figures in the process, great.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you don't, that's okay too. That doesn't mean that you're not living your best life and that you're not successful. And yeah.
And I think that's the piece too, is I also watch people give up way too quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
There, you know, I'm in this one group and somebody, you know, had just opened their Facebook page. I didn't get any readings. And we all came on and we're like, it's been a week. Like, you need to, like, this is a long-term thing. You need to create a relationship, maybe show your face, maybe like do these things. It's not going to happen overnight. And I do really think that these courses and the content that people are putting out there is really, this will happen overnight.
Yeah.
It does not happen overnight. You've got to be in this because you're passionate about it and you love it and it's really aligned with you and what you want in life. And that's when you'll start to make money, when it's just who you are, not something to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a way to make money.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, this was a great conversation.
Yeah,
I think
this was really good.
For like 2 more hours.
Yeah, the money thing is just massive, isn't it, for so many people? And I feel like so many of us, we don't get it because we're just, you know, a lot of us aren't. Well, we're living in a 3D world, but so many of us are moving into 5D, and we're moving into these higher levels of consciousness, and like all of these old systems are just making less and less sense every day. It's like, what's happening? Like, what's going on? How are we supposed to get paid? Like, how does this work? But I think it is changing and I think it is shifting, but it's kind of like, you know, and I say this all the time about people who are doing spiritual work in the way we are. It's like, we're the pioneers of this.
Yeah.
People haven't had to really think about these things before. Like, tarot readers previously, they worked out the back of a shop and the person who ran the shop told them how much to charge.
Yeah.
And they would charge that much. And then if they did go solo, they would charge probably about the same. Yeah. Like, people are thinking like, oh, I'm going to charge like, you know, £1 million for a reading, unless they were, you know, working with celebrities or, you know, kind of that level. But yeah, it's like we're all just trying to like work this out as we go.
Yeah.
So it's strange. It
is very strange, but I love it.
Yeah.
And I love that it's really yours to make. Like, you know, this whole conversation is really about, what do you want to receive from this industry that you work in? What kind of life do you want? You need to visualize that piece first and foremost. Like, sure, if you want to be on stage and you want to be writing best-selling books and you want to be doing all of those things, that's totally cool. But know that takes a lot of effort and it's not going to show up overnight. And you really have to be in a certain mindset to create that for yourself. And if that's not what you want to be doing, if you want to be like, you know, have 6 months off and go to Bali, that's probably not going to happen if you're chasing that lifestyle. You know, a lot of if you look at some of the bigger names, they're traveling a lot all the time, and it's really here, busy. There, everywhere. They don't really have, you know, I'm sure they have friends, but they're not constantly getting to hang out with them, or they're not constantly with their family because they're doing the hustle. And if you want that, that's awesome. Chase it. But if you don't want that, then you got to look at, is that the way to run your business? Yeah. Well, I'm like writing notes as we're going, because I'm like, oh, we're going to have to talk about like the dimensions.
There's so many things to talk about.
Yeah.
There's so much to say.
We do. So as always, if you have more questions, ask us down below or DM us on Instagram or on Facebook, and let us know what you want us to talk about. Because Vix and I could probably talk about anything for hours.
Yeah.
So we're open to your ideas. Thanks, Vix. This is so awesome.
Yeah, it was super fun. I'll see you next week.
Yeah. See you next week, guys. Bye.
Bye.